but there we have it. So, we'd lose 6 AC. Our fire resistance would go down a little bit, but we do gain willpower. We're not casting spells anyway at the moment. Take me to complete safety. And let's see what this feels like when we actually put it on. We only have 1 pip of fire resistance, but we're maxed out cold. We have our elec and our corrosion doubled up now, so we could actually get rid of this ring. And instead wear, I guess, our poison? I mean, nice resistances across the board. It's not terrible. Still decent AC. Yeah, I think I actually kind of like that. Let's experiment a little bit and see how the rest of Elf goes. At the very least, we don't have to be quite so scared of the Zephyrmancers as we were. Resistance to electricity doing a heck of a lot of work for keeping us in one piece. And now we can kind of just tab our way through these fights. Like, this fight probably shouldn't have even relied quite so much on tab. We kind of were dropped in the middle of a horde and ran with it, hoped that nothing bad would happen, but it didn't. So here we are. How about that? Again, it's better to be lucky than good, apparently. Not too shabby. And it allows us to chunk through this middle section of the game fairly quickly. Ooh, there we go. Now that's a hit. So you can see if we actually get hit a few times, Force Lance mixed with a... I'm surprised that ice actually hurt us that badly, seeing as how we do have maxed out resistance, but a roll is a roll, and if it max rolls, no matter what, it's going to take a decent chunk out when you have low hit points. And can't exactly complain about that. Looking fantastic across the board. In fact, there's one interesting call we have to make here. In general, Regeneration Amulet is, I mean, just across the board, it's probably my favorite basic amulet ego in the game. I will almost always use it on any character. But Reflection is also pretty high up there, especially conditionally, such as when you're exploring Elf. Because if we can reflect some of those icicles back at our enemies, same with all the other spells, especially against the first couple Annihilators we come across, that is pretty huge. It is pretty nice. I'm actually confused. Why are we at 21 strength? Because we swapped away from the ring that was taking a lot of strength out of us? Am I forgetting something else here? No, maybe 21 is appropriate. I thought we were at 23 before we put on this ring. But my mind might just be going a little bit off in its own direction. Wouldn't be the first time. So let's just breeze right past that. And instead, head back down. I never did switch to the Reflection, which I'm still very tempted to do. For now, let's just get in here and get that anti-magic bite going. Perfect. Helps out a heck of a lot with all these spellcasters. And then, let's give it a shot. Much like with Dice Dragon Scales, sometimes it's nice just to test run it a little bit. The rest of Elf 2 here shouldn't be too critically dangerous, so it's a decent time. Elf 3, that's probably where we want to have our lives sorted a wee bit more. But we got time. Got plenty of time. Double check which short sword I'm currently using. I think the speed is still our best bet. It's definitely very handy. And wee bit sketchy with the Force Lance. Generally makes things a little bit tougher. But I think I am very happy overall here with the swap over to the Reflection Amulet, at least for the rest of Elf, as it were. Switch back to regen most likely at a certain point in the game. Absolutely fantastic. Held down tab a little bit heavy there. Maybe we don't quite want to go pedal to metal. Instead, we'll play it just a wee bit safer with quick taps. Can't complain too much. Trying to think of what else we may want. I guess we are probably ready now for Spider, now that I think about it. With the full poison, electricity resistance. Should be in a decent spot. New Spider's its own can of worms, of course. Generally gets a wee bit sketchy. But we should be in an okay spot to at least give it a shot. Maybe give it a similar treatment to what we saw in Shoals, where we just want to push as far as we feel comfortable, with the fact that we're keeping cognizant that we can always leave, always walk away, and deal with the problems later. Am I going to regret opening this little vault? I thought that we might have a good opportunity. At first I thought that was a weird entrance into the Hall of Blades. It turns out to not be the case. Is there any treasure though? Also not really treasure. What a weird little area. So Hall of Blades becomes its own interesting thing. Generally you only really want to come in here if you're looking for a weapon. Do I think that I'll find a quick blade floating around in there? Wouldn't be the first time. Let's give it a cursory glance. Of course, once you open the doors, there's no going back. So that's something to keep in mind, but we've been doing all right so far. And I think we can continue to do so with our current setup here. Fortunately, the speed brand does well against the floating weapons, just because it's one of the few. That and Vorpal are the only two that really are not largely mitigated by their innate resistances. So that is quite nice. Otherwise, just chonk through these bad boys. Just so. And I'm looking for a quick blade. Please, sir, could I have but one quick blade? Please, my family is very sick. A single quick blade for your troubles, please. Not quite. I'm trying to slightly abuse the AI here. You can see there that the glaive was in hit range, but then moving here, the glaive still tries to just chug through this corner. So that allows us to avoid some extra damage, which is always nice. Otherwise, we should be able to get through here. It's mostly just concerned with that reach weapon. Always makes things a heck of a lot more dangerous. Not only are we not finding any quick blades so far, but it's also seeming like we're not really finding anything short blade related. Not even short blade adjacent. Just a bunch of maces, flails, and polearms. And axes, of course. Oh my gosh, never mind. I'm sorry, game. I'm sorry I ever doubted you, DCSS. You are a beacon of hope and humanity in this cruel, dark world. Well, would you look at that? A quick blade, just for me. How sweet. So, we just need to finish off this fight, and then we'll immediately start branding and seeing what we can do with that son of a gun. Of course, we will want to train something here. Oh, I got an invocations manual at some point? Okay. Then I'll probably train you to 14. That'll happen real quick at +4. And what else do we want at our disposal here? Could train some more evocations. Probably could get away with training a little bit more dodging. I like to have at least decent defenses across the board when on a character that jives well with it. And let's see how long that takes. And we can always look into where we want to move next in the future. A +2 anti-magic quick blade. Well. How about that? You want gloves of the 20 coins? You can go on the floor for now. Quick blade, come at me. And I think we'll just get out of here for now. We might end up finishing Elf 3 for some extra treasures. Maybe try and get the last few rechargeable evocables that we're missing out on. But that's pretty awesome. We can definitely check. I think we dropped a couple of enchant weapons on the floor. One in a shop, but we have 3 available. Oh, and one is in Elf. So let's do that now. Yes, please. Let's read on the floor and immediately put that onto our quick blade. We already have an anti-magic ability, so let's see how things go, shall we? Freezing is not the best brand for sure. We have a few brand weapon scrolls, so I'm willing to go a little bit deeper here. Protection is also not fantastic. It's not terrible though. Let's try one more time. We're looking for electric. I don't know. Speed? Is speed possible with enchant weapon scrolls? I think so, just very unlikely. Okay, end up back at freezing, so we'll probably want to brand this again in the future, but that's pretty sweet here. We go from a 0.4 to a 0.3 with a little bit of extra frost damage. Interesting. Well, let's quickly run around, pick up the rest of our enchant weapon scrolls, and we can at least top this bad boy off. Put it in a half decent spot moving forward. Oh, we had some enchant armor waiting for us here. That's good to know. In case we ever do want to get into that treasure trove that we left unopened. Just need a few of those bad boys. And last but not least here, one more enchant weapon. +5 quick blade at this stage in the game. Absolutely stellar. And I guess now we probably will just head back to Spider. Seems like a decent bet. We could even potentially try and finish off Shoals right away here. But for now, hold up. Oh gosh, hitting all the wrong buttons. Wanted to double check some stats. We're at 3 pips of willpower. That's nice. If we're going into Spider, I'm probably going to switch back to regen. And then let us go, shall we? +7 quick blade of Holy Wrath seems nice for longer than this part of the game. Oh my gosh, right. We were talking about this just earlier and I completely forgot. I probably do just want Holy Wrath. In fact, ice is not going to do a heck of a lot for us down here. There are a decent number of undead spiders. Do I want to just do this now? Doesn't seem like a terrible idea. So I think I will. It's already +5, Holy Branded. That seems pretty lovely. Oh, that does not seem lovely, getting teleported instantaneously upon coming downstairs. Well, let's read another teleport. One good teleport deserves another. So we barely move. There we go. We definitely manifested that into being by mentioning it earlier. Let's read another teleport. This one hopefully will put us somewhere safer, right? Couldn't get like 7 bad teleports in a row, right? Doesn't seem like it at the very least. Okie dokie. Well, this is definitely much more manageable. We have a nice little choke point here as we just tab our way through the majority of these bad boys. Should be a little bit cautious of that orb spider. Make sure I'm not taking needless orbs of destruction to the face. 1 is okay. 1 is not the end of the world. Any more than that, we start to run into some trouble. But there you are, Francis. How am I feeling about you today? Iron Shot is going to hurt. Throw Icicle, not so much. Any summons they bring in, not a huge deal with our Holy Branded Quick Blade. Just in case, though, let's go Box of Beasts. Get a Mature Sting Beast, that's quite nice. Nekoxek is kind of annoying. Let's just kill them before we take any mutations. And then, just go head-to-head, I guess. Ain't no thing. Perfect. Very nice start to the area at the very least. Still have a ways to go, of course. Things very much have the opportunity to go completely and totally sideways, but after a rough drop, getting insta-teleported into a large group of spiders, things are looking good once more. We've stabilized the patient, and we're back in a decent position. First Emperor Scorpion, also not terrible. Getting confused is not ideal, but also not the end of the world here. And I guess we'll just keep finishing off this fight. The real danger that I find with quick blades is it takes more turns to kill things, and of course those turns go by very quickly, so it makes me real aggressive on that tab button. So let's hope that doesn't come to bite us in the butt, if possible. +8 quick blade, I think. Let's double check. I kind of forgot that we get a couple of bonus enchantment levels when we use TSO's brand, so that is a lovely little surprise for sure. The best kind. And we'll just kind of, hopefully, breeze through a little chunk of spider here. Ooh, I actually kind of want to fight the rad roach with, friends around, is what I was going to say. At the very least, it prevents them from irradiating, so that seems lovely. And instead, let's try and chunk through. The confusion is kind of bad, but we can cure out of that real quick. And let's try and finish this buddy off, and then everyone else becomes a little bit more straightforward. Back. How safe do I want to play this? Should I drink another curing? No, there we go. Cleansing Flame, get some good damage. With all these low health enemies around, Cleansing Flame actually becomes super strong in Spider. Again, I really wanted to worship Vedhas, go fully thematic with our Vine Stalker, but it's not the end of the world that it hasn't worked out for us. We have found that altar, because here we are. And quite a few of the Shiny One's abilities actually go a really long way in Spider. Quite nice, to say the least. Bringing in some extra bodies as well if things get bad could also be lovely. You believe the free +2 from TSO is actually just more damage than freezing or flaming on Quick Blade? I think you're right, because it's about like a 25% for freezing and flaming, that is, of the base damage. So that's only going to be what, like just over 1 point of damage? Not exactly fantastic. So no, it definitely worked out. Yeah, 1.25, exactly. I probably should have done the math. I kind of didn't realize that was an easy set of numbers at the very least. But regardless, you do love to see it. And I'm very happy with how it all worked out here, as we are very much, so far, breezing our way through Spider, which is no mean feat when it comes to new Spider here. It's also kind of interesting to see how we fare against a Ghost Moth. We do manage to outpace them in terms of getting back our magic points with our bite, so that is fantastic. Pretty ridiculous. Ooh, and there we go, the final enchant weapon. We're maxed out. We got our Quick Blade for the end of days. Now we just have to survive, not do anything too stupid, and we're probably pretty much set for the game. Might still want a slightly better piece of armor, but it doesn't get too much better than what we got going for us. And at the very least, our offensive abilities are all sorted, so that's always nice. On a web, shouldn't be a problem though. More so an issue just because it stops me from being able to tab my way through fights. Which means in some weird way, I can see there being quite a few situations where getting caught in a spider's web actually makes me more likely to survive a fight, because I don't fall victim quite as much to the whole hubris thing, which is generally the worst part, or the most likely cause of death for the majority of characters. Little bit sketchy in that encounter, but we managed to get through in one piece without too much trouble. Being slowed by the snail would have been a heck of a lot worse, so I'm glad with how it all shook out in the end. And let's just wait out that confusion. Perfect. Get back on the road. Not Ghost. Moth of Wrath on their own. That's what you want to see for sure. One of the more dangerous parts of Spider, to say the least. Because while it's not quite to the same levels as Zot, where you're having to deal with berserked gold dragons, because oh my gosh, is that a nightmare. but it is absolutely brutal. A single wolf spider being berserked is enough to end the majority of characters that make it to this stage in the game, at least if you try and fight it straight up. So anything we can do to avoid that eventuality seems like a good idea. So we see a little closed off beehive there. Very cool. Ring of Tulips. It's not often that you'll have me turning down artifacts. How about that? In fact, let's take a look. More so for fun than anything. Do I wish this character was an octopode? We'd have another pip of fire resistance, which would be good. Stealth, which would be nice. Still not quite there. We have a lot of overlapping rings where we already have resistance to electricity. We already have resistance to corrosion, but we have 3 different sources of that. But it's still interesting. This is definitely one of the higher count games when it comes to the sheer number of artifact rings that we've come across. Which runs very contrary to how the majority of my octopode runs go, where we're usually struggling to find anything to our name. Short Sword of Speed can probably go. Our Quick Blade is just that, but better. Do I want more enchant weapon? I don't know if I really care. We'll carry it around for now until there's something that maybe is better suited for the slot. And we'll take our new friends on a little bit of a journey, specifically this Emperor Scorpion. Let's play it safe. Don't want to fight off against an Entropy Weaver and that buddy at the same time. And instead, we can just duel 1v1. And still goes worse than expected, unfortunately, but we managed to make it through in one piece, so can't really complain too much at the end of the day here. So what was left? 2 Entropy Weavers and some change. Perfect. If they want to split themselves up, I'm not going to complain. And that should just about do it. Fantastic. So far, it's a relatively nice setup for when it comes to Spider 4. Oftentimes it's much more wide open spaces where you're exceptionally liable to get completely and totally surrounded by an angry horde of arachnids, but not so much an issue today. So I will be exceptionally grateful to that, to say the least. Simulacrum's not the end of the world with the sheer amount of cold resistance we have, and let us potentially, yes, let's not hurt ourselves with barbs. Let's leave that. I guess we more so want to do something like this. Perfect. Allows us to explore the rest of the level, what little there was remaining, but without running the risk of accidentally fighting our way into the main vault, because as much as I've been very fortunate so far as to what we faced in Spider, this is where that could all come to a bit of an end, bit of a change in pace, and things can get sketchy before you know it. It would be kind of nice if we got an undead themed end vault here. Double Emperor Scorpions, I feel like we're not quite able to take on. Let's see, do we have any one-wide chokes? No. Am I missing anything? Does not look like it, unfortunately. If we had even a single Wand of Digging charge, that would be nice. Instead, we're going to have to try and just do it manually with the stairs, which we do immediately luck out on, getting only one of the Emperor Scorpions next to us. It's always super helpful to split up your fights when possible. And you know what? Let's bring in a friend. Phone a friend real quick. Curious if Cleansing Flame would actually not hurt angels. I don't think it does. Because that's one issue with friends in general. So if we use our Box of Beasts, for example, oftentimes it prevents us from using Cleansing Flame, or at least motivates us not to, seeing as how we might not want to lose that beast that we just summoned. But a little bit less of an issue with the angels, I believe. We can double test that in a bit here. There we go, a nice start to the end vault. Wee bit terrifying for sure. But much like we said earlier in Shoals, if you go through this much of Spider with only one very near-death experience, that's an absolutely stellar day. Because it usually goes a heck of a lot worse. Hello, my melee friends. Definitely take you out before we kill the Pharaoh Ant. Perfect. Wolf Spider going to ice is not great, but again, we have good resistances there. So, it ain't no thing. Guess we might as well take a peek at this. I don't think I'll be trading my armor anytime soon. That's not changing, at least not at the moment. So that is lovely. And just about through the thick of it here. In fact, turns out that there was just another kind of section of the main floor here, so I'm happy to explore this first, get a little bit of extra experience, make sure we're in a decent spot. Moving forward. That is absolutely fantastic. Oh, my wolf spider friend. Wolf spiders are very cute in this game. Mostly because they remind me of tarantulas. Definitely a little bit bigger of a third body segment. Got a bit of a dumpy on those wolf spiders, but that aside, they're very tarantula-like for sure. Which means they're just like tiny little dogs, right? They even have the paws for it, from what I understand. Tarantulas, that is. But okie dokie, we managed to hit all of our skill caps. So where do we wish to go now? Maybe in the background we'll train some armor, because at this stage in the game it's nice to have at least one of our defensive skills going throughout the majority of the run. Invocations is in a good spot. I guess we still have a little bit of aptitude here, so specifically from the skill manual, so we'll train a little bit more. I don't see too much of an issue there. In fact, maybe even just to 15, and we'll see where that leaves us. Focus that. I might put evocations on to 14 and throwing as well. We'll go pretty shallow and wide here, seeing as how we don't desperately need any one thing, and instead it might just be nice to get a smattering across the board of useful tools for the future. Okay, double Ghost Moth is enough to bring us down to 0 magic. Ooh, and getting marked is not fantastic. Or is it? I feel like we might have just done the Hornet Nest strategy where we've shaken things up, we've caused a bit of a stir, and now we can kind of benefit off of that by just having to deal with these folks a few at a time, which is always a bit of a nice little bonus. Not too shabby. Definitely just take you 2 upstairs. Have to manually attack a bit to make sure that you take out the little buddies first, because the Emperor Scorpion is going to take a while to chunk through, as we've seen in the past. So it definitely runs the risk of getting really serious levels of poison coming through. If it has run going smoothly. And unfortunately, yeah, mostly smoothly because we never did find said plant buddy. Not necessarily a completely fair assessment, but I think it plays a role. Because TSO ended up being quite a strong option for us. I think I will take the barb damage as well. Take a bit of a step here. Thank you, my diva friend, for taking a lot of the hits. I also don't think I've looked at divas in a while. I love that tile. Have I not seen any divas in 0.28 yet? At least not that I've actively noticed the new tile. But regardless, I like it. Makes them look a little bit tougher. Real nice armor. So I always find as soon as I'm looking at a new one, I know that it's changed. And I know that I like the changes. But now I'm blanking on what they used to look like. How's the Vine Stalker going so far? Hey, Ninth, how's it going? It is going fantastic. We got exceptionally lucky today. Immediately getting this wonderful chainmail that carried us until we came across this gem of a resistance. I mean, we have way too much positive energy going on between TSO, this armor, our gloves, but we also have a lot of regen going up over 2.5 per turn. So I've always heard that that's kind of the key to the kingdom there. Less painful than deep health, you suppose? Definitely. I mean, hey, they still have a similar reduction of HP, but that Spirit Guardian and Mana Bite, absolutely absurd. and getting the quick blade on top of that has been fantastic. We were hoping to go for Fedhas and go full plant strats, but so far we haven't come across an altar, so our middle ground where we were just going to stay with TSO until we found that might just carry us until the end of the run. It's just the downside of it is it's making it that much harder for if I come across a Fedhas altar, will I stick to my guns, might stick to the moral code and do what the suggestion in the first place was, or do I run with TSO because that's actually going quite well for us? We'll have to see where my values lie if and when we get to that point in the game. Though if DCSS wants to help me out and not force a decision by just never giving me that altar, makes my life a little bit easier. Don't have to feel good or bad about it one way or another. Let's head back into Shoals here, and we'll see how we fare now that we've upgraded a fair bit, to say the least. Should be pretty good. Personally, you wouldn't swap at this point. Oh, for sure. If I'm just going for like chances to win, I should stick with TSO. At max piety, we can summon so many divine warriors. We can just spam cleansing flame if we get into a nasty spot. I would like to stick with it for our chances of victory, but sometimes, in fact, oftentimes, with my weird self-prescribed rules, I do find myself putting my characters into a slightly more adverse position, just for the drama, for the lulls, as it were. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, maybe if enough of chat is supportive, or actively calling out to not swap, then I can guilt-free not go with the original suggestion. But I wouldn't want to force that on any of you. Instead, let's just roll with the punches for now. We won't worry about it too much until we have to. Because at least for the moment here, I am a very happy camper. And we should be strong enough to make it through the next while in the run in one piece. And hopefully, if everything aligns, we could even finish the run tonight. I love the Ring of the Tortoise. At this stage, I mean, I don't think it would swap out for the sheer number of resistances we're getting. I guess this art poison is no longer quite as necessary. So we could drop this artifact, pick up the tortoise, and get pretty solid armor class. Just have to remember, I do not have poison resistance. So if push comes to shove, might want to keep that in mind. And I actually always love this fight because the Catoplebis definitely could cause an issue, but more often than not, it ends up just freezing most of the Death Yaks. Petrifying, rather. And then we get the free stabs with our quick blades, so that's kind of nice. In fact, killing the Catoplebis almost puts us in a worse off position. Because at the very least at the moment here, they're just constantly making life difficult for their buddies. But now is maybe where I change that plan. Let's kill the Catoplebis, then we'll move on. Oh, the Javelineer choosing a really unfortunate moment to come out of the woodwork. That's fine. We'll body block a little bit, body block a little bit. And that should be long enough to put us in a good spot here. Fantastic. So that fight could have been a heck of a lot worse. I wasn't even doing a very good job of thinking through my decisions. Once again, a showcase of how well off we are. I'm hoping, maybe just maybe, this character's going well enough that it might even be Torinski proof. Wouldn't that be incredible? A sight to see. Doesn't happen very often. Though I guess, to be fair, probably our ogre character falled under a similar category just from the sheer amount of health we had at our disposal. And the damage output, it was pretty hard to run that character into the ground. Can ignore that willpower ring. This is actually a much better scenario to try and fight the Kraken. I like to get to where you're one step away from safety. So then if things start to go poorly against the tentacles, we at least have escape as an option. And fairly easily, too, I might add. But there we go. Managed to take them down. And hopefully it's just a matter of time before we come across the rune little cove here. Double water nymph. Could have very easily gone poorly there with water strikes coming every which way. But we managed to kill them fast enough that it's at the very least not too much of an issue. Ooh, and an ice kraken. That's always a lot of fun. And last but not least, the rune itself. So there we are. We're 2 runes deep. Making progress quite quickly here. Love to see it. Would probably do poorly against an alligator turtle. At least it goes on a long time with the sheer defensive capabilities. But holy moly. Okay, we're just soaring through, sprinting on by without much to do here, which, I mean, once again, very happy about. But where do we want to go next? We need to go finish up Elf now that we have good resistances across the board, good enough willpower that we're probably not going to get banished. If we are banished, maybe we do just go for the rune, because we're probably fairly decently sorted to go that direction, that route. Alternatively, of course, could always go to vaults. Get some more potential treasure, more experience, all that good stuff. But for now, let's just go back to Elven Halls, shall we? Elven Halls at least has a really nice trade-off with the amount of work we have to put in versus the amount of treasure we get out of it. Providing everything goes according to plan, which is maybe a bit assumptive. But Donald, if you have a Kite Shield of Reflection, then I am so happy with life. In fact, I think you might be guaranteed to, so maybe not as much of a question as I put into it. But okie dokie, immediately switch to that. Now we have regen and reflection going. We can drop that Reflect Amulet, and we may be nigh unstoppable, at least as far as Elf is concerned. Not so much that I'm gonna tab my way through the entirety of the end vault, but should at least be able to chunk through without too much issue one way or another, with even just the barest amount of safety in mind. But we'll have to see how she goes. There's our entrance. Orc, High Orc Priest, that's not what you are. Orc High Priest, much better. You know what? No, I don't want to get barbed. Mostly because there's no real reason to. Not a huge deal one way or another. And okie dokie. Gotten really lucky on the shapeshifters so far this run too. For whatever reason, they just keep turning into the easiest opponents right as it becomes relevant, which is absolutely fantastic. And what else do we have here? Just some more friends, hey? No, not really any loot, just a bunch of you just chilling. Chilling in your corner. Nothing weird going on there. Let's double check here. 1% chance of banishment. Lovely. So we just chunk through you. And here we go. This is the end. And oh me oh my, is that quite the horde of annihilators? Not exactly ideal. We do have reflection, but we could start taking some hits rather. Bing chillin'. Indeed we are. We're doing Cena proud here. I almost called him Jason Cena. That's not right. John Cena. Now I'm just blanking on every celebrity's name, because who is the other? Michael Cera is the other. I was gonna call them the other Cena, but that's not true either. Ooh, and you, my friend, are a bit of a nightmare, so what can I do? Not a heck of a lot. We at least don't have any elementalists. Oh gosh, it just continues? That's also quite bad. You know what? I'm gonna take my new friends on a bit of a walk. At the very least, that Symbol of Torment is really bad for the Blade Masters as well, so might all kind of work out in the long run. Let's see, we're kind of far from a stairs. We can at least run back here. We're a little bit out of trouble. Then we can get back to fighting, let regen, take the reins real quick, Holy moly. It's pretty wild how quickly we go from oh crap, oh crap, oh crap to Bing chillin'. That's our polemic. Put it. Definitely rightfully so. Oh geez Louise. We'll see if I come to regret those words as we get completely and totally surrounded by summons. Let's just get rid of these elementalists to start off. Okay, there's still a couple more. That is a bit of a shame. You know what, as is, I think I am just gonna continue walking away because we can always go in here. Now this is a place where those Earth Elementalists don't have quite as much staying power, can't break through the rocks at the very least, which is lovely. Should be careful how fast I tap here because I want to fight the Demonologist if possible. Or if they're too much of a coward, then maybe I'll switch over to Javelins. Oops, let's try that again. Oh, 2 Demonologists. Be nice if they stayed lined up, but it is what it is. Instead, we can bring them into our little hallway of fun here. High Priest is also invited, just this once. And let's just try and smash through you buddies real quick. Would switch to silver for being the demons, but I'm mostly just hoping to kill the Demonologist. Take off the head of the snake. Take the problem down at its root. And that is perfect. Already can see a lot of artifacts here. Let's take a look. I mean, that's a nice ring. Not one that we especially need at the moment because we already are doing fairly well in those departments. Maybe want more resist fire in the future, but that can be a future concern. Plus 11 trident. Oh my gosh, this is actually a beautiful weapon. I mean, I think I like my quick blade too much, but it's interesting at the very least. If I was struggling for cold resistance, and if I was still struggling for willpower, that would have been a sorely tempting swap, to say the least. As is, probably not a big deal. Oh look, a magic trident, so rare. It's funny how something that could make your day on any other occasion just becomes a point of trivial interest. Where it's like, oh, that's quite nice. It's interesting. Isn't that quaint? Isn't that cute? A little bit of willpower and cold resistance, a plus 11 enchantment, you say? I remember my first weapon. Instead, we're just absolutely swinging with it here and getting exactly what I was hoping out of this area as well. Rechargeable evocables. We have decent evocations training, so this is exactly what I was hoping and dreaming of. Let's pick those. Protection from cold? I don't think so. More. Box of summoning. Ooh, and if I was wanting a reflection brand, it's tempting in general, but of course, if we look into this, our shield does this. Everything we're wearing does this. Don't really need the intelligence. So, just stick with the classic regeneration here for now. I'm hoping to find an artifact with regen on it, but I'm not going to get too greedy. I think we're pretty solid with where we're sitting at the moment. Not a big deal one way or another. I guess this is a nice chance to quickly get in some exceptions to our auto pickup. Oh, Amulet of the Four Winds was here as well. Huh. Again, if I was still struggling for willpower, I hate saying no to an unrandart. Anyone who's watched this before knows how much I love them. I'll at least maybe carry you around for a wee bit. We'll see how it goes. Let's finish exploring the last little bits of the floor here. Do a quick Control F period, make sure I'm not forgetting anything crucially important on the floor. Don't need the chainmail back, I don't believe. Oh my gosh, earlier in the stream, I was driving myself crazy by my missing strength. That's it right there. Whoopsie daisies. I was just dumb. I mean, we kind of knew this to be the case, but still interesting to get full confirmation. Let's see what this Shimmering Plane does, shall we? Can swap the Amulet of the Four Winds for the Orb, Indiana Jones. Maybe even confuse the Lords of Pan. Wouldn't that be lovely? Even though it's probably, again, important to note that it didn't exactly work for Indiana Jones. People love doing that, and it's one of the most, like, pantomime scenes from the movie, but I feel like most people kind of forget that it didn't work. And the traps all went off. Fortunately, Indiana Jones is Indiana Jones, so they're okay. But that would be very fitting, seeing as how we do have this vault up here. Where is it? Layer 5. It's called Indiana Jones. And no, don't worry, it won't work for us either. Perfect. I wouldn't want it to. I've been itching to murder a panlord or two in my lifetime, so let's hope I don't regret those words. That's definitely a possibility at the very least. But okie dokie, we again are in a nice spot here. I don't know if I have to bother too much with vaults. Could go down for funsies, but maybe we'll just head to depths for the moment here and see what we can't get our paws on, shall we? Can at least dip our toes in the water. Of course, that is generally the scariest part of depths, as we've faced many times in the past, but that's fine. I'm sure it won't go poorly for us this time. That's an old me issue. New me doesn't even worry about it. And thank you so much, Behold Adam, for the follow. I appreciate it. And I apologize for making a stupid joke from your name, but that is what I do here very often. The make the stupid jokes part. Ooh, and you also had a Holy Wrath weapon. Isn't that lovely? Onwards we go. First Lich shouldn't be a problem whatsoever. Immediately getting in our anti-magic bite makes it slightly trivial. And oh my gosh. Again, I hate to rub in the fact that we just haven't found this Fedhaus altar, and it's probably one of the best things that's ever happened to us, but could a Fedhaus follower do this? Chop through a mushroom real quick? Absolutely savage. Not quite to the point of cannibalization. I mean, first of all, I'm not eating it, I'm assuming. Second of all, I picture myself as more of a leafy green than a fungal critter here, but I don't know. It depends on how the species of Vine Stalker actually shakes out. Bit of an interesting taxonomy question. Are they all the same kind of leafy green, some kind of deciduous roots? Or do they have multiple blends, multiple like subspecies within it? Rules of D&D would probably dictate that there are subspecies, since that's generally more interesting for players, but maybe something we'll have to look into. We'll do some research when we make our way out of the dungeon. There have been too few research papers published about the taxonomy of Vine Stalkers, and we endeavor to change that. Build a better future, one with more understanding for our peoples. Wouldn't that be lovely?